I got my stitches out. We're going to run the numbers and see a number that we have not seen in over a year. And then we're going to discuss the known unknowns on this week's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Well, thanks for clicking in. My name's Ray Dawson. I'm an associate broker with ProStar Realty here, and this is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. And today we're going to cover pretty much everything we dealt with in the intro and some more. First things first, did finally get all my stitches out, and talking to the doctor, and he says they got all the bad parts out, so I don't have to go and get more parts of me chunked out. That's really good news. So in case any of you guys were wondering what was going on with that. We have the upcoming numbers and stuff that I ran on Wednesday, and I like what I see, and I'm going to start with those numbers, show them to you because they're going to dovetail on the conversation we're going to have on after that. So hold on for a second. And now the numbers for June 23rd, 2021. Our active this week are at 5,437, which is up 326 from the week before. This is the largest week-to-week gain that we've had since April of 2020. Our pending is sitting at 1,917, which is up 40 from the week before. Our under contract looking for backups are at 1,119, which is down 115 from the week before. Our contracts with buyers contingency are at 84, which is up 16 from the week before. And our close are at 2,248, which is down 220, getting ready for the end of the month rush. Our coming soons are at 1,011. So as you can see, those are some pretty good numbers if you're on the buying side right now. Inventory's going up, and they're going up for the right reasons. Crumford Report sent me a letter on Monday to discuss stuff that I'd missed on the week before. They just did not have a live showing, so they just sent out an email to everybody. And then we're still looking at the same supply issues, or we're still 75.5% below normal, right? So figure we're at 24.5 of where we should be. And buyers are there's still more active buyers out there than normal, but by what was that number right there? 7.3%. So figure we have 107 buyers looking at 24 houses. Right? We're still in that area. The numbers are going up, and Tina says that the reason why the numbers are going up is because more houses are coming on the market. Now, there's been a couple news articles come out. Let's look at just the two news articles that just came out today. The administration has decided they're going to add another month to the moratorium. So all the tenants and landlords out there who was thinking the moratorium was going to end on June the 30th, that can has been kicked one more time. Not a big kick, but it did kick down the road, right? So now we're looking at July 31st. With the double plus, sure, this time, believe us, this is the last time, right? And this is the last time that they've been saying, like the last 3 times they said it was the last time, but this is the last time. Take their word on it. So that's going to, hold off on that potential inventory flood of, landlords getting rid of tenants and deciding to put their houses on the market, which I've never really thought was going to be there. Mostly for the reason is that, landlords tend to be in property to make money, and we are still at a really serious appreciation month over month right now. The Crumford numbers had that just in May, the appreciation rate year to year was 39%. And when I say in May year to year, that does not mean that saying that in May we went up 39% just that month. Year to year means that we're going from the May 2020 to May 2021, the appreciation rate in May was that amount. All right. So figure about 3% in May. And we're on track to do 36% here in June, right? So that's 3% a month. Right? And that's definitely better than you'll get putting money in a savings account. At 6% total between just those 2 months, that's a pretty decent equity fund you'd be looking into. Asterisk Ray is not a financial advisor, but so That being said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of landlords out there who are just going to suddenly go, no, I'm just dumping all my stuff. And I say that to say this. A couple weeks ago, this article came out from the Wall Street Journal that I did not read. I just read people who had read it. And they were talking about how this firm called Blackstone had picked up 17,000 properties. And it was an example of big corporate interests coming in and buying out whole subdivisions. Well, one of the sites that I follow actually broke that article down and ran it to earth, and found out that it did not actually quite say what the Wall Street Journal was saying. I mean, this is what I'm going to talk about: known unknowns. Let's look at the moratorium. All right, we have a known issue. We know this. All right, they have kicked the moratorium down. One more month to July 31st. We do not know whether or not they're going to extend it afterwards. All right, that makes this a known unknown. Right, we can prepare for it, we can ignore it, but we know that issue exists. That this time, a month from now, we might be hearing it out. That's called a known unknown. Another thing that we just know that happened today, the administration is apparently trying to get themselves into a trade war with Canada and just signed on a couple timber tariffs because obviously we got enough cheap lumber flooding American markets. We can pick a fight with their number one timber producer. So we don't know how that's going to get resolved. It's our unknown, but we do know that that's going to impact timber prices. And we were just starting to recover out of that. You were actually just starting to see, things happen and prices starting to come down in timber. And remember, that's one of the major impacts on why we were having overly expensive new build homes right now, is because the wood to build those houses has been extremely expensive for the last couple months. So I don't know how that one's going to wash out, but that's going to be another impact on new home builds coming in. So with this Wall Street Journal article talking about Blackstone, the way it originally came out was all these really big companies were buying huge chunks of property. That's not saying that there's not a lot of investors out there. Cash deals are running about 23 to 24% of our market right now. And at 23 to 24% of our market, that's over 1 in 5 houses are going to somebody who's paying cash, and they're not all from California. That's usually how people track to see investors and how the investors are picking stuff up. And we do know there are various investors working at our neighborhoods. But on that particular article, what it was is that Blackstone did pick up 17,000 houses, but they picked it up by purchasing another company that owned 17,000. So it's not like 17,000 houses suddenly got, empty houses suddenly got turned into rentals by Blackstone. What it was is that 17,000 rentals are still rentals. They're just writing the check to Blackstone instead of this company, Home Partners of America. There's another thing going on in that article that they covered is concept of build to rent. And that is where a home builder is going to build an entire subdivision at spec, basically out of their own pocket. They're then going to turn around and fill all of those houses with tenants and then sell the entire subdivision as a package to a REIT, a real estate investment trust. And that's becoming a more and more common thing. They just did a big one. It's like 128 homes down outside of Houston. They built 128 homes, and then they turned around and they just rented them all out and then sold them as a block, almost like you'd sell an apartment building. So between these various first layer articles, the headlines, the clickbait, you've been seeing a lot of chatter out there about what's the upcoming buyer's revolt. And that's just where buyers are just going to say, you know what, screw you, I'm not buying a house. I'm just going to stay a renter. And there's a lot of people who are actually starting to feel along those lines. They think that the housing market is going to crash. They think they can step off the escalator and step back on and get all the benefits of staying on the escalator without any of the costs. And there was some numbers that came out, 2 different sets, right? There's a Federal Real Estate something or other. They're a federal organization that tracks real estate numbers, and the National Association of Realtors. And they were both saying about how contracts have gone down, closings have gone down, people are buying less houses. And as a headline, wow, that's shocking information. And if you're like most of Americans, you scroll past that to get to the cat photos. But if you read these articles and start breaking down, you need to realize that these are national numbers and national statements they're making. And even the feds only break it down into 4 subgroups. So you got New England area, the South, the Midwest, and then the West. I don't know which states break into which states, but we're obviously considered the West out there, which means they're lumping our Phoenix market in with San Francisco or Seattle or Boise or Elko, Nevada. We're all clumped into the same thing. As you can understand, there are people who are getting out of San Francisco. San Francisco home values are dropping. Their rents are dropping dramatically. All right, it's not a good time to be a landlord in San Francisco right now if you have empty property, because you're not going to get the same rate for it that you used to. And a lot of that has to do with people leaving San Francisco and moving to cheaper areas to work in, especially with remote viewing. I saw another thing today, and I really wish I had screenshotted this, where they're talking about which counties get the most people from where. And our county, the number 1 county that sends us stuff, is LA County. Most of our people coming into this state are coming from LA County as opposed to the other counties. The second one was Orange County. And then the third one, I think, was Cook County, Chicago. So, and that doesn't mean that they're the majority of it. It just means that, from county to county. But it is those people who are coming in here which are really driving our prices. So remember, if you see something along the lines of how contracts are down nationwide, know that, it's the old real estate rule, location, location, location. And the Wall Street Journal is not writing for you, the person living in Phoenix. The Wall Street Journal is writing for the entire country, so they're always going to talk about things at the national level. They might have a special interest story or something like that where they'll burrow it down, but mostly, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be at the big prod, 10,000 foot view writing their articles. The buyer revolt that they are projecting, I've noticed when I start tracking these things back, they start coming back to people who are trying to come up with a headline. And they're looking at these national numbers and they're projecting into the future what they think they're seeing. All right. New home starts, new home sales. And that's where somebody has built a house and you were the first owner. You're the first person to drive that house off the lot. Those are down. Why are those down? Because construction times are increasing and they're increasing past contract. You cannot trust a builder right now who says, I can get you that house built in 90 days to actually be able to hand you keys in 90 days. We have supply line issues. We now have shingle issues coming out of, shingles are in back order. So not only did we have timber, not only did we have copper and plumbing, not only do we have appliances, and I know a person who's been waiting 3 weeks right now for her appliance to show up, and now we're talking shingles. So when you sit there and go, this month had less new home purchases than last month, it's not necessarily mean that the demand there is no longer there. It means that supply is not delivering at the rates they were doing the month before. Make sense? So once again, as you start going through these numbers and as you start reading the news, always remember the person who's writing that article 9 times out of 10 is a journalism major who does not actually know the industry that they're writing about. If there is a retired real estate agent or a retired contractor out there who decided to take a turn writing for the Wall Street Journal, I'd love to meet him. But most of the time, it's going to be these things. They have, in today's madcap journalism world, it is not where the editor calls you all in at 8 o'clock and hands out assignments for something to get to editing by 3 o'clock so it can get down to the presses by 3:30, printed, delivered, and on your doorstep at 6 o'clock at night anymore. That's not how the world works. The way the world works nowadays for these poor reporters, and I can't believe I just said that, is something comes up like the news drop on the moratorium, and they have 30 minutes to get something on the website. That doesn't mean that they have time to call for quotes, call for backup quotes, confirm sources, any of those old things the old reporters used to do. they got to basically just puke something on a screen and hit send. And between that, the Blackstone articles, all these other things, really now more than ever, you got to start watching and seeing the second and third tier understanding of these headlines. And I'm not just saying read the first quote. All right. I'm saying read the whole article and then follow the links back and read the links and find out if the links are actually saying what the reporter's quoting you the link says. And it's pretty much that on this week. Then we got that. Was there anything else I wanted to cover? Nope. And that's the highlights. So thank you very much. Sorry this one's short, but it's been a long week for me. I'll talk to you guys later.